and have big projects, remodel the house, move countries, do all the big things. That will bring a lot of vitality into your life. So it's never too late. This person's 58. To the 78-year-old person, they'll be going, God, that's nothing. I wish I was 58 again. Hello, friends. John Dalton here for the Emergence podcast, where we go into love, consciousness, and the mystery. And in this episode, it's mostly questions. We've got a question about gurus and being on social media. We've got a question about accepting different parts and where we are in life, and then a question about booze or alcohol. So the first question says that this is in hang on, no, this was a comment actually on YouTube. This wasn't in response to my question. This was a comment on YouTube, and this person said, I think I was talking about gurus in the video. That's what the comment was about. What do you think of gurus, in inverted commas, saying there is no one else than you? Then why are they on social media? I cannot understand that. And it's a good point, because both sides of it are true. I don't know if I can say there's, what does it say? There's no one else than you. I wouldn't say that because I don't know about anybody else. I only know about me. And there is an element to the spiritual life where you kind of go, you have to face that it's a little bit lonely in that you only ever have your own experience. You only ever, or I only ever have my experience. I only ever look out through my eyes. I only ever listen through my ears. I never look out through anyone else's eyes. I never hear things through other people's ears. Everything happens inside me. So it's like I kind of wake up into this single point perspective the whole time. And that can, when you really get into that, you can kind of go, if this is, the idea of it's a simulation, you can really get into that. You kind of go, if it's a simulation, I'm the only one here. Everybody else doesn't exist. I don't think that's true, but there is a certain kind of loneliness to that and a feeling of like, it's understandable why people want to get together with other people and love and look outside to kind of assuage that feeling a little bit of it's just me. So it is true. I know Barry Long, my spiritual teacher, used to say there's only one I in the universe, not like Mordor, I meant one eye, like I. There's only one I in the universe, and it's in that body sitting in that chair. And that's a good thing to turn over, because it points towards this thing of, yeah, I only ever look out of one eye, whatever. I only ever look out of one set of eyes, and I only ever hear through one set of ears, and I only have this one perspective. It's like you wake up and you're the star of your own reality TV show every day, That's kind of what it's like. I wake up into the John show every day, just like you wake up into whatever, your name is, your show. So they're the gurus and verticals. I think I kind of agree with them on that. And then this point of, if that's true, why are they going on social media? And that's a good question as well. I can only really talk about me. Not that I'm a guru, God forbid. I don't, I'm always saying the age of the guru is over. The time of the guru is over. The time of the spiritual teacher is over. It passed. But why I do it, why I get on social media is really simple. I just want to join the conversation. Lots of people are talking about lots of different things. And it's like any conversation. It's like, well, this is my perspective. This is what it looks like to me. This is my cat Ginger. He's not allowed on the table, but that doesn't stop him. But I'm not trying to tell anybody anything. I'm not saying this is the way it is. This is the truth. and this is how you should live your life. I don't know how you should live your life. God, I'm just about living my life. I feel like. So I don't think I'm not trying to change the world. I'm not trying to change anybody's mind. I'm not trying to do any of those things. And, from observing other people who are still perpetuating the kind of guru idea, the dynamic, they didn't get the memo that it's over. You can kind of tell, um, that you can feel the finger coming up. They might be going like this, but that's kind of the energy of, now here's the truth, and here's how you should live your life, and the reason you're miserable is because of this, and it's all like this kind of finger pointing. And that's part of why the guru thing is over, is because it's not honest. Like, if they were really honest, they would be saying, I don't know, this is just the way it looks to me. This works for me. But I don't know what it's like to be inside your body, and I don't know why you're here. I don't even know why I'm here. But it looks to me like everybody's here. We're figuring out something about ourselves. Each person's very individual. So I don't know why you're here and why you're figuring out what you're figuring out. I hardly know why I'm here and what I'm figuring out. So how could I possibly tell you how to live your life? How could I possibly tell you what the truth is? Like, there is some objective truth. I don't know if there is. I don't think there is. I think it's all just this one experience. So I kind of agree with this person. I can't really understand it either, why they would go on social media going, now there's only one I in the universe, now let me tell you all how to live your life. um, but like, bear in mind, like with myself, like, I got enlightened in 96. I didn't mention it. I didn't mention it to anybody. I mentioned it to about, like this many people, less than 5 people, in, I think it was 11 or 12 years. So 96, I wrote Maya Noise in 2011. What's that, 14 years, 15 years? I didn't say a word about it. I didn't need to. I didn't, because it wasn't anybody else's business. It was like something I had wanted to do. I did it. I was so happy, and I continue to be so happy with it. And that was it. I only started talking about it because, for this thing of joining the conversation. And that book, Maya Noise, kind of, I was losing sleep over it. It was that's kind of the way books come for me. They kind of press themselves on me, and until I write them, they just keep annoying me. So I wrote it, and I was kind of going, oh God, I don't want to write about enlightenment. I don't want to write about any of that stuff, because it's very personal. That book's very personal. I talk about a lot of very intimate things. And I didn't really want to write it. So the only way I could write it was to kind of go, well, I'll write it, but I'm not showing anybody. I'm certainly not publishing it. But then when I got to the end of it, I could kind of see, oh yeah, it's a thing. There's a dynamic here, and I thought it was good. So I thought, yeah, okay. And when I when I kind of published it, I thought, oh, I'm gonna get all this backlash, and people are going, how dare you say you're enlightened, and how dare you talk about this thing and that thing and the other thing. Nothing. Greatly relieved. Nothing. So yeah, I suppose you'd have to ask the gurus. That's really what it boils down to. Why do I think gurus are saying there's no, they're right. There isn't. I think they're talking about this thing. If there's only one singular perspective, your perspective, this thing that you wake up into, that is true. But it's all part of the like rich experience of waking up into this thing that we wake up into every day. And there is a thing of YouTube, and there is a thing of communication. And the only thing that's real here that I can see is love and communication. So it's understandable they want to communicate. It's more a thing of style, and I couldn't do it because it just doesn't seem real for me to go, oh, this is how you should live your life. I'm much more in the vibe of, I went to a nice restaurant the other night. I think you might like it, or I saw this movie. I think it's the sort of movie you'd enjoy. I'm more kind of like that. Like, these are the things I've discovered, and this is the way it looks to me. But I don't think it's truth or universal truth. I don't think there is a universal truth, because as I look at it, That's where all the trouble starts. When you have this is the truth, this is the actual truth. That's when we can get into a fight about things. Whereas if I just say, well, this is the way it looks to me, and you say, well, this is the way it looks to me, and we go, okay, the way you see it's very different to the way I see it. There we go. But we don't, we don't do that. We kind of go, no, there's a truth here. There's an actual truth here, and you're living in a delusion. That's what you're doing. Yeah, you have to face reality, like it's a third thing here, and then we can have a big fight about it. No, and then I'm going to you. No, no, no. You're the one that's deluded. Here's the truth. So I hope that helps. Now the next question was in response to my question on Instagram. What's the biggest challenge you're facing in your spiritual life at the moment? And this person says, accepting my loathsome bits to salvage the remaining years at 58 and feel lost, like I'll never get it, in inverted commas. I asked them to elaborate on it a bit more, and they did. Lots of things, which I'm not going to read out. But they're heading towards 58, and they are just in that horrible feeling of, I don't like my life. I don't like my life at all. There's so many things about my life that I don't like. There's some bits that I do, but most of it, I'm not really where I want to be. I'm not happy with so many things, and I'm 58. It's too late. My life is over. Which is not the case. It doesn't matter what age you are. This is the thing about age, and particularly if you're interested in the spiritual life. It's one of the best things to be interested in spiritual life for getting older, because with everything else, as you get older, it's like your world gets smaller. Your body starts to fall apart, and you can't do things that you wanted to do, or you're never going to be like your chances of winning a gold medal in the Olympics for gymnastics if you're 58. I mean, anything's possible, but it's not, it's a big, it's unlikely, the chances of you being in a boy band, no, that's probably not going to happen if you're 58. The chances of you being a child prodigy, that's not going to happen, and so on. But with the spiritual life, there's no end to it. You can keep going and keep going. And it doesn't matter what it is, But really, it doesn't so much matter that end of it. The main thing I think about getting older is to make sure not to get pulled into the conventions of, oh, this is what happens when you're a certain age. It's always new, Like there's the cliche of the older men who end up with younger women, and everyone's like, oh, that's disgusting, she's twice as, she could be his daughter, all that kind of thing. That's because the old men don't know they're old. Inside, they're like, I'm still 18, They obviously don't have mirrors, and they don't have full-length mirrors, because somewhere they're just going with their own subjective experience, and they think that they are the same age as the woman that they're with. They're still, because we are kind of eternal on the inside. I'm not making any excuses for men getting together with younger women, or young women getting together with younger men. Like, if everybody's happy, great. But I just saying the reason that happens is because we are eternal on the inside. But you could use that to your advantage. And this idea of it's too late, there isn't a lot of things that it is too late for. Okay, boy band, medal in the gymnastics, and all that kind of thing. But people often nail themselves into their own coffin of age because, oh, well, I'm older now, and then this is, I'm amazed the way people, they talk themselves into having things wrong with their body. They're like, oh, well, my knees are starting to go now, which is, I suppose, it's understandable, It's like, I don't subscribe to that at all, I don't think, I recognize changes in my body, but I don't I don't kind of go, oh, well, it's 58 o'clock, which means my left knee is probably not going to work, or I'm going to start getting arthritis, or I'm going to start getting whatever. I don't think like that at all, and I strongly recommend you don't either. That everything is new, and in fact, I I think that taking on bigger and bigger projects the older you get is is the thing to do, because people often kind of, particularly because we've been conditioned, if you've been in a job, to kind of go, oh, I just want to get to the retirement age. And the number of people that die within the first year or two of retirement is staggeringly high. uh, and it's to do with this feeling of inertia, or, well, what am I even doing here? What's the point? So there can be a feeling of like, oh, I'm just going to relax now. When I get older, I'm just going to take it easy. I'm not going to put myself under stress. I'm not going to put myself in, I'm not going to challenge myself. I'm just going to take it easy. I've worked very hard. I think that's the worst thing to do. I think the thing to do is to take on big, scary, hairy, audacious projects. Things that you think you probably won't be able to achieve, but do it anyway, because then you're too busy to be noticing about getting old. Even if you do work and retire at whatever 65 or whatever the latest age is, that I know they push it forward. Have something ready to go. Either have a new career where you can work forever in, like, until you don't, there's no cutoff, like, not a very physically demanding thing. And have big projects, remodel the house, move countries, do all the big things. That will um, bring a lot of vitality into your life. So it's never too late. This person's 58. To the 78-year-old person, they'll be going, God, that's nothing. I wish I was 58 again. There's always somebody, and we're all living longer as well. That's the other thing. We're all living longer. So 58 used to be like, wow, you're an old person. Now it's like, oh, well, you're kind of just a little bit after the middle kind of thing. So I wouldn't, and I don't for myself. Like, I'm 60. I'll be 61 this year. I hardly ever think about it. I never think about it in terms of what I can or cannot do. That doesn't um, influence it at all. I'll just go ahead. Like, I wrote all about going to Innsbruck. I thought I was going skiing. I was training for going skiing. I was doing all these things. When I got there, I didn't like it at all. And I think that was to do with getting older. But I'm not sure. I don't know for definite. I think it might have been that, or that I didn't have enough kind of support around me. I didn't have a group of people around me. I was very on my own with it. So I don't know what, but I certainly, I didn't. It wasn't inside me going, "Oh, I'm 60 now. I shouldn't be going skiing." I was like, "Great, let's go. Let's give it a go." And I got so much out of that trip. You can read all about it in my blog. I don't like calling it a blog, but it's all there. That whole, all the things. That was a big scary thing to take on, to go to Innsbruck for a month. Um, and but I gained so much out of it. It didn't work out exactly the way I thought it was going to go, but it was great to do. And I would have, if I had kind of went, oh, well, I'm 60 now, I should probably just tuck myself up and my body this, and the sort of things that people say, I would have missed out on it all. Speaking of my blog, I send out friendly notes every Sunday. If you want to get a little friendly note from me, John at furtheremergence.com. I didn't mean to go off on a tangent there. So, yeah, it's very understandable. Like, part of this feeling of like, oh my God, I'm this age, and is this it? Is this my life? That's kind of a spiritual awakening. That's kind of waking up, and that can happen at any age. You wake up one morning and everything's different. The person you're lying in bed beside, you're like, what's happened? You look out the window and you're like, oh, this again, and you look at yourself, and that part of that is just your, standard kind of spiritual awakening. And it can happen many times during your life where everything was going great, and then suddenly it shifts, your perspective shifts, and everything just looks different. It's happened to me loads of times. And it's that thing of let go or be dragged, because it's going to happen one way or the other. And the difficult thing with this person is the feeling of inertia, but it's really an illusion in my experience. That feeling of inertia, like I can't change anything. Look, it's all going to be over. And even though I'm saying we're living longer or whatever, it's all going to be over a lot quicker than we think. And it's always going to be now. We're going to die now. It's like, no, I'm going to live for another 50 years. Yeah, but in 50 years when you die, it'll be now. It'll just be in 50 years time. But the moment will be this moment that you're in now. So, the main thing to aim for, I aim for, is to not look back with regret. To not look back and go, oh, if only I'd done that, if only I'd done the other. Thankfully, I have very few regrets. And they're mostly from when I was much younger and when I was a lot less conscious. And that's not like, oh, I'm so conscious now. But we all get more conscious as we get older. It's very hard to avoid it. It's part of the natural way things are. We just get more conscious. It's built in. And you get more conscious whether you're conscious of getting more conscious or not. It just happens. It's part of why people are called, they say, oh, people they get mellower as they get older. So yeah, I feel your pain. This person, they've written quite a bit about all the different parts of their life, and I can totally relate. But it's only over if you say it's over, and you're only, oh well, I'm 58. Yes, chronologically that is the case, but we live in a magical kind of illusion. It's a magical kind of thing, and it's amazing that we wake up into it every morning. Where do we go? Like, where do we go when we go to sleep? What is this thing that we wake up into? What is this stuff I put in my mouth that I can't even see? And it tastes so good. I had this great sensation, explosion in my mouth. What is this stuff that comes in through my nose? All that's amazing stuff. So when you view it like that, the number, the 58 years, the whatever, the 20 years, it matters. It's part of the rules of the illusion, but it doesn't matter that much, So I hope that helps. Okay, now the last question or the last response was about alcohol. What's the biggest challenge you're facing in your spiritual life? At the moment, alcohol. I asked them to elaborate, they didn't. And they didn't, well, I don't know if they didn't need to, but I mean, alcohol is a kind of a spectrum. It can be everything from, oh, I find it hard to meditate when I have alcohol. Cat on the table again. To I am in full-blown alcohol addiction and I'm in trouble, and everything in between. So I used to drink. I used to drink lots. I loved it. It was fantastic. It was the best. And it did interfere with my spiritual life. And the old saying of there's truth in cups, that was also true, meaning people are honest when they're drunk. That's true as well. So I discovered things about myself through being very drunk. But eventually, like many things, I reached the end of it. And it was a feeling of, okay, I've had enough now. Now, before you think I have fantastic discipline, mostly it was because physiologically my body changed. So if I had one drink, I would wake up the next morning and have the hangover of someone who'd had 5 drinks. So if I had 2, it would be 10. So it just became Pavlovian. I started to kind of like, no, I don't want to feel like that in the morning. So that was my body, I think, helping me out to let it go. And it's quite difficult to, like, I had to kind of relearn, because certainly in Ireland, alcohol is it's a big part of the culture. People go and they go drinking, and I've found there's a kind of an energetic thing that happens in a group of people when they're drinking and they're all drinking together. They kind of all get a little bit drunk together. And if you're not drinking, then you're a bit out of step with them, and you sort of notice them. You notice things that you don't notice when you're in the energy field of getting drunk as well. So it's that I found that hard to navigate, to just get used to being around people at like at a dinner party or something like that, and everybody's having wine, and it's just, and you're just not in that, you're not in the same thing, and like when I used to drink with people, I never noticed I never noticed what they were like when they were drunk, because I was drunk too. We were in it together. Whereas when you don't drink, it's really obvious. They're like, wow, okay, they get really opinionated when they're drunk, or they think everything they say is really interesting, and it's kind of not. It's sort of interesting, but it's not as interesting as they think it is, and so on and so forth. This person gets very maudlin, they're always got their arm around me when they get a bit drunk, and you kind of know it's a lot of it is the alcohol, and then the more that they drink, the more their brain kind of shrinks back into their reptilian brain. And me too, I was exactly the same. But I can remember having a pint of Guinness one time and then meditating straight away. And that was quite illuminating, because it was like a big black fog on the inside. Now you could say, well, you have your eyes closed. Isn't it black in there anyway? And you could go, yeah. But it was more black. It was blacker. It was hard to describe, but it was just one pint, so I wasn't drunk enough to I wasn't drunk at all, really, um, to notice, wow, this has had a big effect in my inner landscape. But I think, like most things, uh, start seeing that it's getting in the way is the beginning of a change, of the beginning of it changing. So if you're starting to kind of go, oh, this is a problem, whether it's cigarettes, whether it's drugs, whether it's sex, whether it's alcohol, whether it's cake, whether it's online shopping, whether it's sport, doesn't matter. If you kind of can see, oh, I'm using this to cover something, just seeing that is the beginning of it changing. And if you kind of go, that's it now, I'm not drinking anymore, I'm never drinking again, I found that never worked for me. It felt good to say it, and I really wanted to believe it was true, but it didn't really work. What did work was just consciousness, just kind of observing and going, okay, yeah, that's covering something, or that's making it harder to meditate, or I'm being very cruel when I'm drunk. I'm saying these terrible things to the people I love. It's kind of ruining my life, depending on where you are on that spectrum, as I said. But it starts with, I mean, if it's very serious, of course, you've got to get help because it's gone. It goes out of the realm of cake and online shopping into, no, I've got I've got an illness here. I'm basically an alcoholic and I need help. And that's a different thing. And obviously, if you can get the help, you can. But even then, if you're interested in the spiritual life, you will bring that into your sobriety program, or your process of getting sober. So alcohol is like anything else that we use to distract ourselves or cover ourselves, or well, me anyway. As I said at the beginning, I don't really talk about me. Like I used alcohol because I had and continue to have pretty intense social anxiety. So God, it was brilliant for me in social situations. Alcohol was the best. It just made it so much easier, and that was one of the difficult things when I stopped drinking. It was very hard to be in social situations without that social lubricant. But because it kind of left me, and I had that strong sense of that I've had enough now, and I had that Pavlovian unpleasant feeling, that helped make it easier. But it's the same with anything. There's always going to be if you like eating cake or you like doing online shopping because you don't like facing something else, when you stop doing the thing that you use to distract yourself, then when you have to face it, it's like, ooh, oh, it's awful. You still have to face the difficult thing. Okay, I hope that helps. I trust you're well. I trust you're of good cheer. And I'll talk to you again soon. Bye.